Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Theo from Unplug 'em. I rarely get to watch truth content, but I popped into his stream yesterday, and the depth of knowledge that he has is pretty profound. So check him out when you get a chance. Well, he and I need to do some kind of collaboration because our minds think a lot alike. Some of the stuff that he was coming up with and I'm coming up with independently and having it cross over is pretty amazing. So, we should do a show. That would be really cool. Gosh, I haven't done one of those in a very, very long time, but I think that in this case, it probably would apply. Um, Now let's get into today's show. I binge watched a series over the last couple days called Teacup. Have you guys heard of Teacup? I was in shock. Now, we're not going to do a full decode on that. I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes version of Teacup. Let me pull up these images here. These are some screenshots from the TV series Teacup, and it's all about the firmament. It's firmament programming, the eyes being the window to the soul, and these eerie mentions of cat scratch fever. Now, there are some pretty prominent actors in this TV series, Teacup, and I'll give you a quick synopsis of this, and then we'll get into the rest of today's show. But I think it was at least worth a mention for future reference to kind of complete the loop in terms of how these people are programming the masses, okay? Now, Teacup follows two families that find themselves in the middle of an alien civil war. The problem is that the aliens don't fly UFOs. You can barely detect them. And what the aliens do, there's good aliens and bad aliens. So, of course, that's the programming, right? They're preparing us for accepting some aliens as good and some as bad, which, of course, is the false paradigm. But that's what people will believe. And so they're programmed through TV shows like this. And essentially, these aliens in the TV series Teacup do not drive UFOs or fly UFOs. What they do is they subtly possess humans. And sometimes you can't tell how they're doing it or what they're doing or who's possessed and who's not. So one day, this family's out on their ranch going through life as normal families do with normal problems. And then the next minute they realize that they are surrounded by a blue line. And if they cross the line, there is some kind of invisible weapon that tears them apart from the inside out. And then they learn a little bit later in the series that there are good and bad aliens engaged in some kind of game of cat and mouse, and that the barrier is to trap the good alien as the bad aliens try to track down the good alien. Now, what makes this difficult is these aliens can hot bodies. And the way they hot bodies is through the eyes. Now, the Bible tells us that the eyes are the window to the soul. So, kind of like confirmation, isn't it? Now, not that we need confirmation from an occult TV series, but understand that these people are essentially going to rewrite these themes. This is why they keep including biblical themes. They're going to use the Bible to try to deceive people. They're going to flip the script, as I say. They're going to change people's perception about the Bible. And this is why they need to keep reinforcing these biblical themes like firmaments and all these things, because they're going to rewrite it. Okay. And this should be all the evidence you need to understand how these people work and what they're up to and what the final deception will be. Because guess what? It'd be really easy for them to simply just discredit the Bible, right? But instead they keep coming back to it, right? And this is where we get into what they're truly up to. Now, there's another scene in here. And again, I don't have screenshots of this. I'm just giving you guys a synopsis so we can kind of cover this and then move on to other things. But the grandmother mentions literally the exact story that I told you guys years ago about my experience with cat scratch fever. Remember those stories I told you guys about what happened to me and my children when we got cat scratch fever and how our necks and faces swole up and we thought we had cancer. We couldn't get into the doctor soon enough. Well, they tell that exact story and there's a whole scene on it on cat scratch fever. Now, the context of the grandmother telling the story was essentially she was talking about how resilient children were, and that when we think the worst is going to happen, that things tend to turn out when it comes to children. And that's what the story she was telling about cat scratch fever. Now, some of you have watched the series, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So again, the aliens jump bodies through the eyes, which again, the Bible says is the window to the soul. And here's another aspect that we've talked about at length. This iridescent substance. Let me see if I can find images of this because I want you to see this. Iridescent. There's this iridescent substance. It's like a rainbow liquid. And this is actually part of this whole lore behind Teacup. They literally call it a poison in one instance, and in another instance, they call it a toxin. Remember all of the decodes that we did on structural color? It's not real color. It's color by light. The way the light hits a surface, it causes a color. Let's put rainbow in here and see if that comes up. And we talked all about oil slicks. Remember all this? Oil slicks. You guys, it's all in the series. Everything we've been talking about, exactly how we described it. The rainbow represents, basically, this is what the surface of Satan's skin probably looked like, his scales. He probably was laid in structural color. And this is why he can transform himself, right? Using light. That's how he does it. And using structure instead of pigment. So they're not going to show us any shots of this rainbow substance, but essentially they drink it. And if you drink it, it will allow you to pass beyond the barrier. Now, there's even a rainbow tree at the center of the barrier. Let's type in rainbow tree, see if that comes, or tree. And the tree is what gives off the barrier. It's the power source of the barrier, and it looks like a rainbow. It's actually inside of this silo. Let's see if we could see this guy standing next to this silo, and that's where the tree is hidden. And the aliens place it there to trap the other alien inside of this firmament. Again, you can't see the firmament. Yeah, they're not giving us too much here. It's like they want you to watch the series, right? Now, I don't recommend this series because it's pretty heavy when it comes to the horror aspect to it. But that's the synopsis on Teacup and what I pulled out of it. Wow. So today we're going to try to get into Google Earth. That's what we're going to do next. And I'm going to show you guys some pretty profound stuff on the Vatican, because we solved this second Vatican sigil. Remember, there was the first Vatican sigil that everybody else discovered, the one on your right of your screen. Here in 2024, they're in the process of opening each of these points on the map, which forms the sigil of Satan. We found a second sigil, didn't we? From the original opening in the year 2000, 25 years ago. And apparently they do this every 25 years. And we found out that the typical standard pattern is the one you see on your screen here. This is what they do most years. This year they changed it a bit, but typically they go from St. Peter's to St. John's to St. Mary's to St. Paul's in this order. And it formed this strange sigil. And we hadn't figured it out what it was yet, but today we figured it out. Wow. Now, what is this sigil mean? Well, let's go into Google Earth and I'll show you what I found. Let me fix this up here. Get you guys fixed up. into Google Earth. There it is. All right. There we are. So hopefully you guys can see this now. We're now in Google Earth. And we'll get back into the browser soon. But I wanted to show you this. So I mapped all this out. Okay. This is the sigil. And a lot of detective work went into the discovery of this symbol. It's actually the Syriac version of the Teth letter, the 9th letter of the Syriac alphabet. And actually went into Google Earth a little bit too soon. I was going to show you guys all that first before we went into Google Earth. So let's go back to the browser. And that would be here. Very good. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the Syriac letter. Here is the symbol inside of the sigil of Satan. Both sigils appear. The smaller one here at the bottom of the circle, and the larger one here on the right of the circle. Now, again, one of you found this. I did not find this. Let's see here. Okay, so here is the symbol here. As you can see, it's an exact match. The Tet symbol, the 9th letter of the Syriac alphabet. Let's try to make this a little bit bigger so you can see this. So you see it's that we're not stretching it. We're not trying to make something fit that doesn't. This is actually an exact match for the symbol. The 9th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, or the Syriac version of the Hebrew alphabet. Let's go down here so you can see this. Here it is right here. See how it's got the sharp edges? That's what we were looking for. Everything before that had the rounded edges, which is also a variation of the same letter, but we wanted to find the sharp edges. Now, what does the symbol mean? Well, normally, this symbol means good. Literally, it means good. But don't forget that this symbol appears on Lucifer's sigil. So it can't possibly mean good on here, right? Because God is good only and Satan is not. So it can't mean good, as it relates to both of these symbols that appear on Lucifer's sigil. Right? So if it's not good, then what does it mean? Well, it means serpent. Here it is right here. And you can't make this up, you guys. The path of Tet, the Hebrew letter Tet, means serpent, as you can see here. Now there's more to this. I don't want to dive too deep into this rabbit hole of decoding evil, but some of you need to see this as it relates to the Vatican, don't you? The Tet means circuit. Here's a whole article on it. Again, this is a Kabbalistic website. I don't recommend digging into this stuff because unless you are researching it, this can have some negative effects. Now, let's go in here and find serpent. It says here, the Hebrew letter Tet has the Kabbalistic function assigned to it of digestion, which has been symbolized as the serpent biting its own tail endlessly. So it's essentially the Ouroboros. That's what the symbol means. Now, this is shocking, right? For some of you hearing this, that the pathway of these doors opening at the Vatican literally means the Ouroboros, or the serpent power feeding on itself, as it says here, as it is self-sustaining. Wow. Let's keep looking through this article about what the Tet symbol means. Teth means snake, and the interchangeability of the zodiacal sign of Leo, the lion and the snake symbolism, is an important meaning to the card. Now they're talking about this tarot card. As the symbols interchange, we understand that the realities which they represent can be interchanged. The one spirit takes any form it wills, which is an important lesson of this path. The Hebrew letter teth means a snake or serpent, which has long been the symbol of wisdom. Be ye wise as serpents. The sign of Leo is attributed to strength. So it's all about the serpent without belaboring the point. Now, we have 2 sigils confirmed. 2 sigils confirmed in these paths. Let me just give a quick summary on this. These portals opened by the Vatican every 25 years, no accident, seen from the sky. One in 2020. I'm sorry, one in 2000 and one in 2024. Both in the sigil of Satan, both meaning serpent. Now, if you think this is all pure accident and then we're just connecting lines seen only from the sky, and you think, oh, they didn't know. Well, they kind of did. And I'm going to confirm that. We're going to go into Google Earth because I'm going to show you alignments, aerial alignments, because it's a thing, as they say. And I'm going to show you specific alignments in Google Earth that prove that this aerial phenomenon is something. Let's go back into, let me check with you guys and we'll go back into Google Earth. Now, I'm curious to hear your initial thoughts on all this because I was blown away. This is a huge discovery, isn't it? We'll see if it gets any traction. But here, oh, let's go fix this here. Okay, let's go back into Google Earth. All right. Here it is. Okay, now you guys can see my screen. So here's the map. Now that you can see the whole sigil from start to finish, let's zoom in to the Vatican. Here it is right here. So you have your bearings. And I'm going to show you an alignment now that you're not even going to believe. Now, I outlined the Vatican because it is, in fact, a large hypodermic needle. It has a needle in its courtyard, which is the obelisk. But there's also an alignment between the rotunda, which is here, and the needle, which is here. Rotunda, needle. Rotunda, round, needle, pointed. And this proves that these alignments exist. Let's fix this up so you can see the whole thing in frame. And then I'll show you the alignment. So remember, this is the starting point of the sigil. So now that you can see this in frame, let's go to the tool here. And let's measure the number of degrees. Miles, let's go to meters. Miles. Okay, there we go. All right. So here's the rotunda and here's the needle. Now I'm going to try to stick this right here. Whoops. Right where the center of the rotunda is. And we're going to try to align this needle. And as you can see, let's see here. Let's fix this. When we line it up right through the center of both, it comes out to precisely 88 degrees. Now, this tool is showing the number here. You'd actually have to zoom into it to actually see it. But this is the alignment. You can kind of see it through the roof line here of this building in front and through the center of the obelisk, 88 degrees. Now, Let me spin this around so you can see this. Now, this is shocking, isn't it? This should not be this way, because the number, we know that the number 88 is an occult number. Let's fix this up so you guys can see this better. That's the best alignment that I could give. Now, everything's not perfectly in alignment, but this is about as close as it gets. This 88-degree alignment of the Vatican. Now, what's up with this giant needle? Well, there's another needle, isn't there? And it's also aligned to 88 degrees. What am I talking about? Well, let's go over to Washington, D.C. Let's go over to the Washington Monument. Now, what all this suggests is continuity, doesn't it? It suggests a connection between these two places. Here is another giant needle. And all I did was outline this. I put a needle next to it so you can kind of see what you're looking at. I'm going to toggle this on and off, and we're going to be in here for a while because I'm going to show you guys. And I put this needle next to it so you could see. Now I'm going to toggle on and off the outline. So you see, this is not just a random outline. Okay. This is real. This is the Capitol building. This is where the inauguration will take place. And we're going to be doing a special show tomorrow all about the inauguration ritual. But as you can see here, let's zoom in a bit so you can see this. I put a vintage or classical era hypodermic needle next to the Capitol building. Now, some of you are in shock right now. You're like, I've never seen this before, because everyone was focused on the owl, right? We all know what the owl is, but this is something far more profound, because this is all about the Needle Nation. There you see the needle outlined. I'm toggling it on and off, and you can see that literally there is a hypodermic needle. The finger plungers, the plunger in the back. And then when we zoom out, let's zoom out, the Washington Mall becomes basically the container, if you will, of the syringe, the middle portion, right? This holds the fluid. This holds the programmable matter. And when we get up here, the base of the needle becomes the Washington Monument, and it kind of spiritually confirms this, doesn't it? Because there should be a needle here, right? Because this is where the needle is. This part right here is called the ferrule. This is the part that actually holds the needle to the base. Now, next to this, I put an image called the Jed, the raising of the Jed, the raising of Osiris, because the Washington Mall becomes the graduated cylinder of the syringe, and it kind of looks like a Jed. We'll get into more of that tomorrow. But where's all this pointing, Casey? Well, ready for this? The syringe is literally pointing to the Lincoln Memorial, which is right here. Now, what's this all about? Oh, let's do the 88-degree alignment first, and this will tie it all in together for you guys. It will tie it all in together. Because if this wasn't aligned to 88 degrees, then I wouldn't do a show on it, because it wouldn't matter, would it? But when we take this alignment here, we get the same 88 degrees. It's unbelievable. There you can see it on your screen. It's kind of small. Some of you have the zoom feature. And from the needle to its rotunda, right? Because we're talking needle to rotunda, same as the Vatican. the same alignment, 88 degrees. I want to be clear here because this is very important. It's the same alignment. It's not 90 degrees. It's 88 degrees. Now, what's up with this? Well, the number 88 is a portal number. And what are they doing at the Vatican? They're opening portals. They're literally telling you, well, needles open portals too. Hypodermic needles, to be exact, they open portals to possession, which is why these monuments are shaped like needles. What are they filled with? Snake venom. Wow. Now let's go back to the Vatican because I want to show you this. Because this particular needle at the Vatican is a hypodermic needle. It's somewhere between a bulb needle. Let's zoom this in a little bit so you can see this. Somewhere in between a bulb needle and a push needle or a syringe, right? Now, what else is going on? Well, let's go back to Lincoln because this is very, very important. This Lincoln thing. Remember, it were needles in Planet of the Apes that caused the monkeys to talk and the humans to go dumb. The simian flu, simian virus, which means monkey. We already know that really happened in history with the needles, with the polio vaccine. People got simian flu. They got monkey flu because it was cultured in monkeys, remember? And they got a weird monkey flu back when when that came out, when the polio vaccine came out. Now, why is the needle in DC pointing to Abraham Lincoln? Well, remember, Abraham Lincoln was turned into an ape in the whole Planet of the Apes franchise, wasn't he? If you think about it, his name, Abe, all you got to do is rotate the B and it becomes a P. Abraham Lincoln, right? So it makes sense why the needle would be pointed to him. Now, how else does Lincoln connect into this? Well, we all know that Abraham Lincoln was the first needle president. I'm going to show that to you right now. We're going to pop out of Google Earth for now. And I'm going to show you Abraham Lincoln being the first needle president. Now, the only way we're able to see all of this is through spiritual eyes, right? I'm not going to sit here and take credit for all these finds. These are spiritual eyes. And people either understand it or they write it off as coincidence or they write it off as not real or pareidolia or whatever they want to call it. But Abraham Lincoln was, in fact, the first needle president. This is the National Museum of Civil War Medicine website. Okay. And this is where the hypodermic needle was born. The use of hypodermic syringe in the Civil War. American Civil War brought the hypodermic syringe into the and remember, without this, there would be no vaccines, right? You need a syringe to inject it. Mainstream American medicine for the first time, a new and still uncommon instrument. Its use by some U.S. Army surgeons opened the gates for widespread adoption of the vital tool. The hollow metal needle, remember the Washington Monument is a hollow needle, was invented in 1844 by Irish physician Francis Rind, who used a suction tube for administering morphine. And now you know why we are the needle nation. Ever since birth, there are shots. We have heroin needles. And now we have weight loss drugs administered by needles. Everything comes through the needle. It's the serpent's tool. Two versions of the syringe to accompany the needle were independently invented by scientists in 1853. So they're talking about the invention. Let's see. Let's go down to this part. Here's some vintage syringes. We are the needle nation. With government supplied syringes, some American physicians gain access to the new instrument, but not all. How much access surgeons had to hypodermic needles during the war is unclear. It is virtually certain that hypodermic syringes were in the minority, but when it came to medical instruments. It was not until after the close of the war that hypodermic medication began to be discussed in medical journals. Hospital delivered 40,000 injections over the course of the war, and they were using this as opium for the soldiers who were injured, is what the article eventually says. I'll put a link to this article for those of you that are interested, because this is insane. Now, this begs the next logical question, doesn't it? What's the next logical question? Well, if the Vatican is a giant syringe from the air, at what point in history did they start pushing needles, right? Well, confirmed. The 18th century, the Catholic Church, through his chief pope, Benedetto, indirectly gave its support to the fight against smallpox by promoting vaccinations through homilies at Mass and convincing people to accept the inoculation. Now you're seeing a much bigger picture, a spiritual picture of the true history and the goal of the serpent going back to the 18th century. Now, we just had both of our modern day syringe presidents, didn't we? Trump and Biden over the last 8 years, as an unprecedented amount of Americans were jabbed. Didn't we? It's bipartisan. Now, what else is going on? Well, here's some updates on what's going on with Trump. Let's take a look here. Oh, here are some bulb needles I wanted to show you guys to compare the Vatican, because they look similar. It's basically, it was a combination of this syringe and the bulb syringe is what was at the Vatican. So what's going on with Trump? I'll give you guys a Trump update. Now, I got to give credit where credit is due, though I do believe that what Trump is going to do will be used as a political football to further biometric identity and the erosion of privacy rights. But he says he wants to go on a campaign to end the drug crisis, fentanyl specifically. Now, to me, in my eyes, the real crisis in our country is not fentanyl. Most people know to stay away from that. The real crisis is prescription drugs and Americans' dependence on drugs instead of a healthy lifestyle. Drugs like Adderall, antidepressants, anxiety medications, weight loss medications. This is the true crisis, drug crisis in America. The dependence on these things. You guys, if all drugs ended tomorrow, there would be so many people dependent on them, they would not survive, right? They do more damage to people's health and their minds on a much larger scale than the few fentanyl overdoses that we know that probably our own government is seeding into other drugs to take people out. Again, most people know to stay away from fentanyl. But Trump seems to be weaponizing the fentanyl crisis to increase the urgency at the border, which he blames for the fentanyl crisis, and to justify what he is about to do, which could include drone surveillance. Mark my words. Mark my words. When Trump gets in office, part of the border patrol will be drones. They'll send up a drone swarm. They might even weaponize the drones, and that'll be practice, target practice for a future for Americans that isn't too far away. This is where they'll test the drone swarms on the border. And the drones will go off into and off the border to chase down some of these people, or so they'll say, which will start to infringe on your rights and my rights. And people will accept it because they say, oh, tough, Trump's got to get tough on the border. Do whatever it takes. If you need to weaponize a drone and shoot somebody in the middle of the desert, then do it. And meanwhile, we will have written our own death warrant, because that will become the future of America, spying on you and me under the guise of looking for illegals and drug dealers. Now, what is Trump saying here? Well, he's saying that he's going to basically, here, let me close Google Earth because it's hogging up all my resources here. There we go. That should be better now. So what is Trump saying? Well, he's going to advertise. He's going to advertise the fentanyl crisis. Now, this sounds good, right? But again, do people need advertising to tell them how horrible fentanyl is? The problem isn't that people don't know that fentanyl is horrible. The problem is that it's in stuff that it's not supposed to be in, and people are overdosing and dying very, very quickly, right? We don't know where it is. It's like a silent killer. So Trump wants to advertise how horrible fentanyl is, and he believes that that will change things. But what it's going to do is center what he feels like he has to do. It's going to center it on this. So to pin the tail on the donkey, right? He'll get a blank check on our privacy is what I believe is going to happen. Sounds good. Sounds good what he's going to do here. But we will see. Now, let me check in with you guys, and we'll get into some other headlines today. Good morning. Glad you guys could all make it. I started a little bit later today, so I wanted to give you guys a chance to get in here and pop in. But, yeah, you think these people don't know how fentanyl's coming over the border? Of course they do. Probably part of it. It's soft genocide. Think about it. It's low-hanging fruit. Oh, let's take out a few tens of thousands of Americans. They've been talking about, how they want to reduce our population. Could imagine that could be something they could do, Now, this healthcare thing has taken on a mind of its own. The healthcare crisis, denial of patient claims, they're now saying has soared all the way up to as high as 1/3 of patient claims are being denied. You guys, that's not healthcare anymore. It's death care. We'll see what this guy has to say. Let's see if this will play out here.
Taking a deeper look into
let's put this one here. Let's see.
Health insurance claims, this coming against the backdrop of increasing pushback against the insurance industry from denied claims. For more, we're bringing in Yahoo Finance senior health reporter Anjali Kemlani. Hey, Anj.
Hey, Brad. We know this is a sensitive topic, and claim denials are basically how doctors and hospitals get reimbursed for their services. When insurance plans deny them with pre-authorization requests, they essentially delay care until the doctor can get the procedure or treatment authorized. And if a claim is denied after the fact, that's usually creating a huge financial burden for these patients. So it's not clear why, and this issue ties back to the recent killing of a United Healthcare executive. And it's unclear what the target of this killer was, but it has really unleashed the anger of the American public, which is just frustrated with the way that these companies are doing business. And so what we're learning is that we don't actually know how widespread and how prevalent the denial of claims is, but we do have some anecdotal evidence. United Healthcare has the highest denial rate based on Medicare data at 32%, while the insurance industry average is about 17% based on this data. Looking across your screen, you can see some of the other players as well. Meanwhile, United Health Group said that it only denies about 10% of claims based on its own numbers. So you can see just quite a discrepancy there. Meanwhile, looking at another niche area for anecdotes, Komodo Health just came out with another study for prescription drugs, saying that denials have been somewhat flat at about 15%.
So you get the gist of what's going on. Here we live in supposedly the greatest country in the world. We have the highest health premiums. Why should any claim be denied? If we have the greatest health care and the highest health premiums, why make a drug that's going to get denied? Why make a treatment that's going to get denied? You see the problem here. It's a setup. Now, of course, if there's fraud, yes, deny the claim, but they're not accounting for that right now. They're not talking about fraud. They're talking about flat out denial of legitimate services. Why is that happening? It sounds to me like the system is broken, right? Why have the treatment if it's going to get denied? It makes no sense. It's a setup. In other words, they get you to trust your doctors, trust the medical healthcare system, right? And then you put it all on the line. You think, oh, I've paid into my insurance all these years. And then all of a sudden you get hit with a $30,000 bill. What are you going to do then? Well, your only choice at that point would be to mortgage your house or lose your property, lose the little bit of savings that you saved up. So they're basically carving back. This is why you don't trust the system to begin with. Now, will Trump fix this? Well, it remains to be seen. He didn't fix it the first 4 years, did he? Because all this stuff was going on then, right? Why do we think he's going to fix it now? I guess it remains to be seen. And if he does, my hat's off to him. I just have very little hope in these political leaders, right or left. Now, let's get into the thumbnail for today. You guys are going to laugh. Have you guys seen that some really smart person looked up Christmas, like in the space station or whatever from like 20 years ago? And they're all wearing like Santa hats. Have you guys seen this? It's like just a picture. And it's going around Facebook right now. They're all wearing Santa hats. There's like 10 astronauts in a picture. And in that picture, you know, the little ball that hangs off the end of the Santa hat? Well, they're all laying flat because of gravity, right? Whereas last year's Christmas picture of the astronauts, the balls are sticking straight up in the air. I mean, what other proof do you need that these people constantly lie to us about where they're at in any given space or time, right? So look that up. Look up Christmas, NASA, Santa hats, gravity. Maybe that'll pull it up, and then you can just laugh. You can laugh. I laughed for like 30 minutes. Now, let's get into the thumbnail today, because remember, Biff brought us Back to the Future, right? He brought us these cars that can fly. Flying cars. The DeLorean was a flying car. So it makes sense that Trump says he's going to bring back the flying cars. Now, I didn't know this, but there's actually a picture of Biff outside of the DeLorean. I was like, did he ever steal the DeLorean? I don't think he actually stole it, but he was hanging around it. And that's the thumbnail you're looking at today. I hope that's not an AI image, but I just pulled it up. Trump loves using AI images, doesn't he, as well, which is also a sign of the shape of things to come. But anyway, remember I told you that electric cars were not going away, even under Trump? Well, that's because Trump said that he's going to give us bigger and badder electric cars. He's going to give us electric cars that fly, like the DeLorean in Back to the Future. Here's one such company. Aviation company unveils electric flying car with next-gen propulsion system. This is a brilliant concept. Here's what the cars of the future are going to look like. It's going to be like the Star Wars scenario. You know, flying cars all around Manhattan. Wow. So the company is called Cyclorotor. So it's basically going to be a drone, right? It's going to be essentially a drone, an electric drone. Wow. Now, I wanted to kind of end the show today with some space antics, more space antics. I call these the NASA Hunger Games, right? The stranded NASA astronauts, the Hunger Games. And it's funny when these people actually respond to some of the rumors out there about what's really going on, right? In this latest episode, these people somehow got Christmas hats. It's funny because the Christmas hats are what expose these people. Everyone's like, how did they get Christmas hats? They've been stranded up there for like a year or something, right? The stranded astronaut. This is the Hunger Games. And this is, of course, programming for the things that are to come. Isolation, deprivation. That's what this is. It's an isolation deprivation ritual. So in the back of your mind, you go, hey, if these guys could be stranded up in space, you know, for a year and they're okay, well, then I'll stay in my home. This is what they want people to do, and get everything delivered by drone, right? And then you're in your own prison. You're in an open air prison. Because guess what? What are you going to do when there's drones flying over your house? Oh, that one's delivering food. Well, that might be delivering food. Well, how about the other 5 that are up cruising around looking down on you? You're not going to want to go outside. You're going to be like, wow, you know, I can't even, you know, sunbathe out here with no clothes on or something. Because what if a drone picks me up? Or I can't do anything outside because, oh, the new edict is you can't water your lawn from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or something. And they'll say, oh, on this such days, and you're going to be afraid that a drone's going to pick you up. So people are going to get to the point where they don't even go outside anymore. And when they don't go outside anymore, the next logical step, oh, I might as well just move into a city. I might as well just move into a city then. See the problem here? We're entering this new surveillance age, and everyone's just soaking it right up, talking about UFOs. Oh, it's UFOs. That's not the real story here, you guys. The real story are night drones. Now, people are asking, where'd you get your Christmas costumes? We'll see if they got pictures of this so we can laugh. Here, the 2 astronauts were told, who's this guy? Who are these people? Makes no sense. What is wrong with these stories? I have no idea. These aren't even what the story's about. Now, what are they saying here? How did they get their Christmas costumes? They're saying that they likely got their likely. They even say the word likely. They likely got their Christmas hats from the ISS space station. So now NASA's delivering payloads full of party favors to the space station. What kind of use of public funds is that? Now, I guess you could make the case for morale, whatever, you know, people that follow Christmas tradition. Maybe they, you know, well, we got to get them some party hats. I don't know, you guys. But anyway, what else? Well, wasn't Trump supposed to release the JFK files his first go around, and then he refused to do it? Well, will he do it this time? I really hope so, because we'd all like to know what happened. Okay. Why won't he release the JFK files? I don't know. Good question. Now, let me pop back over here to you guys, because tomorrow we will be doing a deep dive on the inauguration ritual and the return of the Jedi, Donald Trump. I call him Jedi because he is the Donald Trump MAGA Jedi. He's a magician. And when I say Jedi, I'm spelling it D-J-E-D. And I'll explain all that tomorrow, but essentially the Jed is the Washington Monument. The raising of the Jed, the raising of Osiris. We're going to go 10 levels deeper than any other raising of Osiris video you've watched, because it's all really about the raising of the Jed. We're going to talk about the Uma and the Thurum, the Urim and the Thummim, light and perfection crystals, likely Jedi lightsaber crystals, which could cut through solid objects and levitate objects. So we're going to talk about all that tomorrow. Can't wait to do that show tomorrow. It's basically going to be our inauguration decode video. A lot of new information, some review information, and that will be on tomorrow's show. All right, I'm in the chat, you guys. Packed show today, wasn't. I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment, as I always do. This chat catch up. We got the Needle Nation, don't we? The Needle Nation. Yep, threading the needle. Why is Germany such an influential country in the USA? I think Germany, you know, the cover story is it's like an ally, right? It's an ally, strategically located in Europe. Also, basically, Germany got, after World War II, they basically became a vassal state of America and NATO. So they basically got reamed. And I've talked to people who live in Germany who know about all this. And basically, Germans are now shamed. They're a shamed country. And so we have our bases there. We have complete control over Germany. And we have probably missiles there and bases and all this stuff. The German people, I feel bad for the German people because they're constantly being attached to Hitler. Their state has been overrun with immigrants, and basically the world does what they want with Germany. Okay. So that's about as much as I know about Germany in terms of, what's going on with them. So good question. All right. Yeah, we can hang out for a little bit, you guys. I don't really have anywhere to be today. Max and I made his favorite is berry pie. He's loved that since he was little. And we put vanilla ice cream on it. And it's like our splurge. So that's what we did yesterday. We didn't have a bunch of decorations or anything. And I just made it for him. And that's like the best ever. Marilyn Manson's tattoo. Zionist plans for one world government planned since 1800s. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what president is in power. Any president that says they support that country is part of the Zionist plan, right? That's just the way it is. And they all support it. So why do people still think there's Republicans and Democrats? Why do we still believe that? Yeah, Angela, it was this berry pie. Now what they do, there isn't just one berry. They put all the berries in there. It's like a berry mix, which is still good. But I remember those Marie Callender's small pies. Remember those? Those like a personal berry pie or personal cobbler. Those were delicious. Yum, yum. So, yeah. I can't eat cheesecake. It gives me like heartburn. It gets like stuck in my throat. Can't do cheesecake. I love cheesecake, but it's like, ugh. Yeah. Now, I will tell you, there is like a cheesecake type of pie that my mom used to make for me where it's in a graham cracker crust and then you take a can of like black cherries or something and pour it over the top. That is delicious. My mom used to make that for me. She'd give us the tiniest little slice. I remember that pie being so small and we get the tiniest little slice and that was like heaven for us. All right. And everybody's going to go out and buy a pie today. They're probably on sale because, it's a day after Christmas. So, they've got all this stockpile. You could probably get 10 for $1. No, nothing will ever be 10 for $1 anymore in America. Unfortunately, those days are gone. Yeah. I remember the days where it was like 5 for $1 or 5 for $5. You could go in and just load up the cart. Well, Max and I went to the grocery store the other day and it was $450 to fill up the cart. I couldn't even believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, son, we're going to go broke over here. $450. It's like, wow. I said, son, this has to last the whole month. Okay, Dad. So we'll see. So. All right. What else is going on, you guys? What else? Good morning. Sauerkraut and eggs tradition, says Margaret. Never tried that. People are scared of Trump all of a sudden, says Christy. Yeah, we got 13 billionaires. That's a lot of power, you guys. 13 billionaires now attached to Trump. What do you think of the drones, says Cheryl? Yeah, we got into that quite a bit. We did several videos on the drones. And if I had to sum it up, I would say that the drones are all about night drones. And we tied that back to a 2017 executive order from Donald Trump himself to allow for night drones. So what we're experiencing now was a direct result of Donald Trump signing an executive order in 2017 to allow for night drones. It was basically one of the largest deregulations of drone rules in history. Not that there's a huge history of drones, but That's it. Now, some people do not want to come to terms with that. Oh, Casey, what are you talking about? Biden's still president. Why do you think this is all happening in the 11th hour of Biden's presidency? It's happening in the 11th hour of Biden's presidency to set the stage for Trump's presidency. And he'll likely use the drones to patrol the border, and no one will give it a second thought. They've already got the robot dogs at Mar-a-Lago. That was the first sign that we saw something was wrong. Something was wrong. Robot dogs running all over the Mar-a-Lago. That was to set the stage for the shape of things to come. And then a few weeks later, the drones started appearing up, right? This is Terminator scenario. So that's what I have to say about drones. There's much more to it than that, but that's the slam dunk. That's the linchpin. I was reading the NBA has lost a lot of viewers. Why do you think that happened? I know a lot of you don't watch sports. I haven't watched the NBA in decades. Well, you can't. First of all, I don't have TV. And if I'm going to watch something, it's going to be maybe the finals. But it's like, I don't even recognize any of these people anymore. They don't make sense to me in the NBA. Just not a fan anymore. I don't know. Gosh. All right. Love Cat says her chickens are still laying. She feels grateful. That's amazing. That's awesome. What else? Chiefs just won. Chiefs always win, don't they? It's so obvious now. It's so obvious. They even win when they suck. Give your chickens beans and rice, says Darlene. Oh boy, I wonder what a chicken fart smells like. Casey, I live down here. There have been drones for a long time. How about night drones? Night drones hit the world stage in the last month. That's when they first came to everyone's national attention, and that means something. It's all rigged. Everything's rigged now. Yeah, people are sick of rigged sports. You know, now they can like, they travel all the time. You know, on the court, the NBA players, they can literally come from the half point, or whatever, the half court, and they can almost make a basket from half court now. They just walk right up to the rim, pretty much. And it's all now a 3-point game. Everyone's just shooting 3-pointers. It's boring now. It's boring basketball. So they got new rules. And so what do the new rules do to the legacy of the other players? Well, it changes the legacy, right? It's much harder to reach a certain point level when now you can literally walk to the basket and throw the ball in, right? What's that going to do to the legacy of the players that had to play under different rules? I mean, not that any of this is real or it matters. It's just for the sake of discussion, right? All right. Thanks, Dan. Yep, 2025. Here we go. Yeah, now they're scaring everybody out of eggs now. I guess there was a big Costco announcement. Oh, the eggs are all dead. They're death eggs now. Rotten eggs. You know, eggs are an amazing thing. They almost can't go bad. And, you know, if you cook the egg, you're fine. You wash your hands, you cook the egg. How does an egg make you sick? I don't understand how they're trying to say this. Right? Dick says he thinks that pro sports is being imploded. Yeah, controlled demolition to usher in Coliseum games. Wow, just like in Idiocracy. I think you might be right, Dick. That's pretty revealing there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Tyson fight, what a letdown. Gosh, what a huge letdown that was. Essentially, it was an exhibition fight. Oh, Aunt Bina says eggs are making you sick recently. That's not good. We're still in Rome. Yes, we are. Last time I went to Costco, they had no eggs at all, says Eloise. Rotten eggs float because of gas. Huh. Yeah. Yes, Usha Vance. No, what's not Usha Vance linked to Palantir? It's JD Vance. He's the one. He worked for Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel gave him $15 million for his Senate campaign. So yeah, some strange stuff going on with the Trump presidency. Just in his cabinet picks. Yes, Tea Time at Mar-a-Lago had the Pan statue. That's what Melania tweeted it out. She's like, tea time at Mar-a-Lago, and there's a statue of Pan in the background with his pipes and his hooved feet, his satanic hooved feet in the form of a baby. I couldn't even believe it. But people think nothing to see here. Move along. I guess we'll all see soon. It's already happening. The MAGA magician, the last Jedi. Return of the Jedi. All right. Yes, the cat scratch fever story. Now, if you got nothing better to do and you want to watch Teacup, you know, there are a couple scenes where you might need to look away because it's disgusting what happens to people once they go outside the barrier. They essentially explode. Their insides turn outwards. And so it's pretty graphic. So, but it, the feel that it had to it was from the movie Annihilation that we decoded. Remember Annihilation? Well, that's exactly what it felt like. Remember there was the rainbow effect and it was a dome or a barrier and all that. Well, that's exactly what it was like. It's almost like they, borrowed, but it was based off of a book called Stinger. So apparently there was the book. So I don't know, but it was very, very similar to the movie Annihilation. Elon and Trump clashing a little. Trump visibly angry. I think that, Christy, that's showmanship. They can't make it look like they're too cozy because then it would be an oligarchy, right? So they have to pretend that they're not getting along. It's all part of the drama. Remember, Trump's an actor. Okay. Now I'll leave you guys with this and then we'll hop off of here because I know you guys are still with family. But essentially, I left a post on a story and everyone was so angry about Trump because he put out these tweets and was like bagging on Obama, right? And stuff about Christmas. I said, what did you guys expect was going to happen? Here's a man that had one of the top shows on TV, a show called The Apprentice. Many of you have asked me to look at the movie Apprentice. Apparently there's a movie out. Maybe I should take a look at that. I just didn't think there'd be any new information, but maybe there is. Maybe there's information about the pharmaceutical companies or something. I'll have to take a look at it. Maybe I'll watch that today. But anyway, I said, what did you guys expect him to act like? He did a whole show humiliating people who wanted to just be around him because of his money. The Apprentice. It's so obvious to me. Like, this is what he did. This is how he talked to people. This is how petty he was. The show was the #1 show for years, wasn't it? So we all know what Trump's about. So why are people acting surprised when he does these things and puts these tweets out? Now understand, he's not really like that. It's a persona. Okay. This is to tap into your ego, to make you like him. Do you think that behavior is acceptable? The pettiness, the ego, right? That's what it's really designed to do. It's designed to magnify your sin in your life. Because you back this person and make excuses for them, you inevitably, you become involved in their behavior, right? That's how it works. That's why we're not supposed to idolize men above God. We're supposed to understand the inherent fallacies and the inherent shortcomings of man. This is why the New Testament tells us this over and over again. talks about the shortcomings of man so that we know not to fall into the trap of elevating men to any kind of thing we should aspire to. We're supposed to aspire to the standard of Jesus, to the standard of God, right? So, all right, guys, I'm going to pop up off of here, make some Brizock fixed, and try to screen this movie, I guess. See how far I get. The Apprentice. And again, tomorrow's show will be one for the record books. I hope you can tune in for that. The inauguration, the return of the Jedi. I love each and every one of you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much love.